Hey, we created our input component where we are able to input our name and our age and to submit this component. We're checking if it's filled out and valid, but currently nothing's really happening with the data we're submitting. We're going to change this in this video where we will create the sibling component, let's call it confirm component. So our current state is that in our input component, we're getting all this, we're validating it, and we're able to submit it, and we're catching this in our app component here. But in the app component, we're not doing anything with this. So first thing I will do is I will add this onSubmit method we're executing here when we're listening or when we're catching our custom event emitted from our input component. And here we will get myself object, which has this type. And by the way, you don't have to specify the type. It would work without the too, but I just like it because, well, I think it's better style to use this clear or strong typing, which is kind of the TypeScript thing, right? So now we get this onSubmit method here. And what I want to do is I want to set my myself object in the parent, in the app component, to that submitted myself object. And I can just do it this way. Now let's create the other component, the confirm component. So this will be the confirm component.ts. And here I'll start again by importing component from Angular to core. I'll add the component decorator already and my class itself, export class, confirm component. Great. Now this will get a selector, obviously. The selector will be my confirm, and we'll have a template where I will again use backticks so that I can use multiple lines. And I will begin with a h1 tag here where I say you submitted the following details. Is this correct? And then here I'll have a paragraph where I say your name is, then we'll have a span element with the name inside it. This will be the myself.name, the name property of our myself object, which I will create in a second, don't worry. And then we'll have again a span element where I will access my age, myself.age, and I can already give those span elements to class, because the highlight class, because that's the reason why I'm using span elements at all. Class is equals highlight myself age, and your years old. Please click on confirm if you have made any changes to this information. So something like this. Well, the text is not really what this tutorial is about. Again, I will use my form and I will just copy this form from here because it's basically the same, right? So let's make this easy to ourselves. And the two-way binding can live. Everything here can stay exactly the same. I will call this onConfirm though to be more correct here, but you could use onSubmit too, obviously. And then I will have myself object here, which is name and age, both empty at the beginning. I will have my is filled boolean and my is valid boolean. And now obviously we can copy the onKeyUp method here too to do our validation check. And then I will have a custom event confirmed, which will be a new event emitter, and this will be of type name will be a string and age will be a string. And I need to import that event emitter up here from the Angular 2 core package. Now I need to implement this is on confirm, not op. Did I have op here too? Yeah, this should be on submit, otherwise this would not be working. So good, I saw that. We didn't see in the last video that it was not working because, well, it wasn't working in any way, so we wouldn't be able to tell. So on confirm here, I want to emit my confirmed event here, and I will pass myself again. This is my self object to which we're binding with two-way data binding here. In our app component, let's add my confirm selector here, and obviously I need to add it here too. Confirm component, add the import here, make sure that it's there, and now you can see we got this working. Now obviously the values are not transferred in any way. I will show this in a second. First, let me catch my confirmed event here and execute on confirm, pass an event, and implement. And implement this here on confirm. I expect to get a myself object, which will be of type name string h string. And then I will set the confirmed myself equal to that myself. Now let me save this, and now I enter here max 26. I can submit it, nothing is happening. And here max 26, it's updating here, that's good. I can submit it, but nothing's happening obviously. Because we're catching all the events here, we're setting myself and confirmed myself in our app component to those submitted objects, but we're not reflecting it in our app component, and we're not passing it into our confirm or input component, so it won't work there too. And by the way, I just recognized in the confirm component, well, it wouldn't have worked because of another reason too. I have to add the outputs array. So good thing if you saw that. Outputs should obviously contain this confirmed property name here, just like in the inputs element or component. So as I said, okay, now we get our values, but we're not displaying them in the app component, and we're not sending them to any of the other components. So we're not sending the confirmed value to the input component, and we're not sending the input component value, so to say, to the confirm component. Now to do this, I will start by sending the values we entered into our input component here to this confirm component. I'll start by adding an input to my confirm component because I want to send data into it. Therefore, I will add this input configuration here, this inputs metadata, and I will target this myself property here, so that I can bind to this myself property. Now in my app component, I can now go to my confirm selector here, to this element, and use myself, which is the name we specified here, the name of this property, so we can bind to it. Myself equals myself, but this time myself is property here. Because here we're in the expression, which will be resolved to whatever we're passing into this myself binding here. And in this expression, we can obviously use all properties we got available here, or everything we want. So we're binding this myself input of our myConfirm component to this myself property of our app component here. Now let's try this out by entering something here and hitting submit. Well, this does not work. Now, the reason this doesn't work is my tendency to write B's instead of N's, so this should be on submit here. Excuse this error. And if I now enter this again and click submit, you can see it updated in the confirm component. Now let's implement the other direction. So I'll start in my input component, now this one, which should be updated, and I'll add an input. So use the inputs metadata here too, and target the myself object here too, just like it's the same as in the confirm component. And then I can use this here to bind to it. So to bind to the myself property in the my input component, and now I'm using the myself property in the app component as well. What will be bound there? What I will bind there? Excuse me, I'm using the confirmed myself property because this should be whatever we're confirming in this confirm component. So let's try this out. Add this. This works. Let's change it, submit it, and this works too. Now you might recognize one thing. It works without me hitting submit here. I can enter anything and it is already automatically updated there. This is because here in my onSubmit and my onConfirm functions in the app component, I'm setting, I can get rid of this was just a relict here. I'm setting my objects here to the objects I'm passing through my custom events. With this, I'm binding them to the two-way data binding I have set up to here. Because the properties in the input and confirm component have two-way data binding set up. By passing those objects, well, I'm not creating a new object, I'm passing a reference, and therefore this two-way data binding is now working across several components. Now maybe that is a behavior I want, but if I don't want it, I would have to create a new component here where I then set the name equal to myself.name and the age equal to myself.age. And the same goes here. Copy or save this. And if I now do this again, it still works. But if I enter something here, it's not updating up here. It updates as soon as I hit submit. So now I don't have this two-way data binding anymore because I'm creating new objects instead of using the objects which have two-way data binding attached to them. So that's very important, and it depends which behavior you want, because maybe sometimes you want the two-way data binding going across components and sometimes you might not want that. Either way, we now covered a lot about data binding, about how to manipulate the DOM, how to let data flow across components, self-created components, how to manipulate HTML elements. You learned all the different forms of data binding, so you're really prepared now to create Angular 2 applications with the fundamentals you got now. And now we're able to dive into that a little bit deeper, and in the next section we will have a look at directives, how to create custom directives, what directives exactly are, how to bind to properties of directives, and so on. So see you in the next videos, and I'm very excited how far we've come already, and we will get even further in the next sections. So see you there, have a nice day, bye.